What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're talking about the Tesla factory and the company's manufacturing expertise. A couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to Tesla's Fremont factory, got a private tour from the head of IR, Martin Veka. It was an unbelievable experience. Made a whole video on the channel about it, and I've been processing it for 2 weeks. Wanted to make a video with my biggest, single takeaway from visiting the factory and learning about Tesla on the ground. And I guess the biggest thing that I've realized about Tesla and what makes me so confident in my investment and so bullish about the company is that they're constantly learning, they're constantly failing, they're constantly improving, essentially constantly innovating. And the reason where that this sort of hit me is going back to the Q1 conference call where Elon went off the rails, answered some questions from YouTube, from me. He mentions that if you would look in retrospect at Amazon versus Walmart and you had looked at Amazon's pace of innovation, it would have been very clear that Amazon was going to surpass Walmart because their pace of innovation was so much faster. And so pace of innovation is sort of the new competitive edge or moat in today's era of hyperchange, and I couldn't agree more with that. And that's why I'm so bullish on Amazon in particular, but also Tesla, because I believe their pace of innovation is incredible, and I really saw it firsthand at the factory with the sprung structure or the tent and the new way that general assembly line has been set up versus general assembly line 3 in the factory. So the reason why Tesla actually had to build their tent was because their general assembly line 3 in the factory wasn't ramping to enough speed to be able to build the 5,000 cars per week. They needed another general assembly line to hit that. So that is what forced them building the tent. And in comparing the two production lines, you realize just how many improvements Tesla was able to make in the tent to streamline its process. And it also just puts into context how this is just a microcosm of large scale and especially auto manufacturing overall, which is there's this huge delay in implementing what you've learned into your next production line. And that is why failing is so important and key, because every time Tesla builds out a production line and something goes wrong, like General Assembly 3, they learn that and can build an improved production line later. And so this pace of constantly failing and learning and improving, I think, is what has me so excited about Tesla. And in particular, what I really didn't appreciate until being at the factory is the delay at which this expertise can be implemented. So Fremont is very tight on space. It's packed to the gills, and the facility, you feel like they're very constrained in that facility. But for Tesla's next factory, they can take that 10 years of experience at Fremont and implement it to build their, next generation facility. That's why I'm invested in Tesla, for the future of the company, not what they're doing today. And I just think there's so many learnings about building electric vehicles at scale that Tesla has that no other automaker has. I mean, Tesla's building on pace this year to build more than 200,000 cars potentially of purely electric cars. No automaker is doing even close to that, let alone a couple companies in China. So, by being the first mover at manufacturing electric vehicles at scale, they're the first to learn, they're the first to mess up, proving the fastest by getting ahead of the curve. And I think we haven't even seen the full scope of that until the next generation factory gets built, which I believe is going to be at the Giga Factory 1. Now, they've already announced the factory in China to build cars there, but now the question is, where the Fremont factory only has a capacity of 600,000 or 700,000 cars. Where are we going to build the millions of cars that Tesla needs? Well, they've hinted that every Gigafactory going forward will actually have vehicle production as well. So my guess is Gigafactory 1, and Tesla hasn't officially announced this, just a guess, that they're going to be building the semi-truck and Model Y at Gigafactory 1 on brand new production lines, and those brand new production lines are going to be built with all of the learnings and failures from Fremont in mind. And when I just think about the simplicity of the tents production line versus the production line inside the factory GA3, it's night and day. And it's hard to quantify exactly what it is. I mean, there's so many twists and turns, and it's sort of crowded and compact in GA3 versus the tent. It's open. It's just one literal production line, I believe. Beyond that, the logistics behind the actual factory line, how trucks are getting the physical parts onto the line for the workers to assemble them, is a whole, different ballgame as well that is so much more efficient in the tent. And so these are just examples of learnings that I think Tesla's going to build in its next generation facility. So I guess, the biggest takeaway and the gist here is Tesla is constantly failing. They're constantly learning. They're constantly improving. I think that's a huge asset. I don't think we've seen all of their learnings being implemented yet at scale. And when we do, which in my opinion will be the China factory and Gigafactory 1, Tesla's, they're going to be able to scale up production way faster than we've ever seen before. They're going to be able to hit higher gross margins than we've ever seen before. And those two things are incredibly important. And don't just take my word for it. There's evidence of this. If you look at Tesla's, the speed at which they ramped up Roadster production versus Model S production versus Model X production versus Model 3 production, it's night night and day. Tesla wasn't building 5,000 cars a week at all total a year ago. Now they've ramped up to 5,000 a week in the Model 3, you know? So just the scope of how fast Tesla's growing is it's hard to like wrap your mind around it. But when you go to Fremont, you see the facility, you see the new lines that get built out, like just the pace of innovation of Tesla is wildly faster than any other car company. And I will caveat this by saying I've never been to another car factory. I've never researched another car company as extensively at Tesla, but just my gut instinct is they are up there with, you know, the Amazons of the world in terms of innovating, and that innovation at the factory level going forward will be a massive competitive advantage. That's the machine that builds the machine that Elon has talked about, and that'll be why Tesla can build electric vehicles, you know, and scale production faster and do it more profitably than any other automaker. And so that is what it is. I hope this little rant makes sense. Just wanted to share with you some more thoughts about the Tesla factory tour. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in below. I'll try to get to them all. Also, if you like the show, definitely check out our Patreon page and consider supporting there. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.